Hello, my name is Cheryl Berman. I am very honored and excited to be your moderator for this virtual event, celebrating Women on the Rise. Women on the Rise really speaks to and connects with all women, whether we're at the top of our game or whether we're working our way up to that ladder of success. We actually came up with Celebrating Women on the Rise because we honestly believe that we rise by lifting each other. It's amazing how women have this incredible ability to help each other. I have been working with Susan Noyes. I'm going to have her come in over here so you can see that we are here together. And we started this together, and that's what's so exciting. And you heard all the wonderful things about her, but she really is responsible for putting all of this together and bringing together so many incredible women from so many different places. And watching it expand, from Chicago then to Marin and to Spaces and everything is just been amazing. So remember, women, you are not alone. There are so many women out there who have the ability, the connections, and the resources to help lift you and many others like you to new heights. So who am I? I am the CEO and Chief Creative of Unbundled. We're a creative company. We specialize in branding, big ideas, award-winning creative content. I'm also the former chairman and chief creative officer of Leo Burnett, the first woman who held Leo's old job and was ever on their board of directors. So you go, how did that happen? I think a lot of our careers begin with help from a friend or a relative. My uncle was the editor-in-chief of a small Chicago neighborhood newspaper back when I began my career. And out of love, and I would say obligation, he hired me at age 21 as a writer. And 3 weeks later, he fired me. He said, if you want to make things up, don't do it on my paper. You should be in advertising. So I took his advice and got an interview at Burnett. And after a lot of portfolio rewrites, I got a job as a junior copywriter. Because I love to write. I love to write songs and poems and ads and articles and Mad Men reviews and graduation speeches and even books. And I found my passion, and I can't tell you how important it is to find yours. That is the one thing that belongs strictly to you, the one thing you love to do, and you believe you can do better than anyone else. Today, we're going to hear from 4 different women who found their passion and ran with it. These incredible women have accomplished so much in their different fields, and I think you'll be able to learn a lot about their success, failure, the fascinating roads they traveled to get where they are today. So let me introduce you to our first speaker, Monica Gray. 2 weeks after the birth of their first son, Nice Guys Delivery was incorporated in 2016 by Monica Gray Fong and her husband, Adam. The couple, who are Marin County residents, experienced firsthand how cannabis brings relief to people with illnesses. It turned out both of their fathers had been diagnosed with Parkinson's disease that same year, and they both struggled to obtain quality cannabis and services in the area. So Adam and Monica started Nice Guys Delivery, a knowledgeable, high-level enterprise that offers the highest grade flowers, edibles, lotions, teas, tinctures, and more. Now, Monica, we'll find out more of her story from her, but she grew up in Mill Valley. She earned her BA in World Arts and Cultures at UCLA. She spent a lot of time in New York working with Calvin Klein, J. Crew. She moved to LA. She did a lot of great things, but today she is the very successful co-owner and COO of Nice Guys Delivery. And she's also on the board of directors and the Center for Domestic Peace. So please welcome Monica Gray.
Hello. Hi. Good afternoon. Good morning to everybody. Thank you so much for joining. As Cheryl just mentioned, I guess I don't need to reintroduce myself, but I'm Monica Gray Fong. I am the co-owner and COO of Nice Guys Incorporated, which owns and operates Nice Guys Delivery and Nice Guys Distribution, which are cannabis retail and wholesale delivery businesses. If you had asked me 20 years ago what I would be doing 20 years later, I would have never said that I would own and operate multiple cannabis businesses, speak at conferences, have 2 kids, 2 dogs, and live back in Marin. I've been reflecting a lot on my past and how I got here recently as college graduations are happening and high school graduations are coming up soon. I also get asked the question frequently, how did you get into the cannabis industry? Well, as mentioned by Cheryl previously, I graduated from Tamalpais High School in Mill Valley, Many moons ago, after a wild Marin summer between high school and college, I was off to UCLA and graduated 4 years later with a Bachelor of Arts in Cultural Studies from the School of Arts and Architecture. I had an incredible, fun experience there, and we'll tell you all about that in our next Zoom. Too much time to fill up my college experience. I distinctly remember feeling after graduation, the feeling of what now? I had signed a lease to take over my friend's apartment for the summer, and I was going to stay in LA doing what? I had been interviewing for production assistant jobs all over Los Angeles at all the major movie studios and talent management companies. I had an internship at Universal Pictures, working for Jim Brubaker, who is the president of physical production at Universal Studios my senior year of college. And he had hooked me up with interviews at Paramount, Fox, CCA, William Morris, and I kind of wanted to be like Ari from Entourage, which now I think about that's hilarious. And I'm kind of glad I'm not in that industry currently. I did not get a job in the competitive Hollywood world, and I was lost. I did not know what to do, but I did know that I needed money to pay for rent and to eat. My roommate told me that she had decided to move to Peru for a year to teach English and had given up a job working at a plastic surgeon's office in Beverly Hills and asked me if I wanted it. It paid super well, and I supposed I was supposed to get them help with getting their hospital accreditation, as they were only laser surgery and injectables, and I wanted to become a full-blown surgery hospital with butt, boobs, facelifts galore. I just remember holding a breast implant in a doctor's office during an interview and being so confused and asking myself, what the hell am I doing here? I didn't last very long at that office. I think I was there for a whopping month, and I was having my 21-year-old self asking me, like my 21-year-old life crisis. I didn't know what I was doing with my life. I decided to move back home to figure out what I was going to do. And I never realized that you actually had to go and find a job after you got a college degree, and that one wouldn't just plop into your lap. I had so many friends that had one lined up already or were going to graduate school, and here I was struggling to find out what I wanted to do with my life. I called up my best friend who had just moved to New York City to work at the Calvin Klein corporate offices. She had a position working at the Calvin Klein corporate offices in the marketing department, and she told me that I needed to come and move to New York and live with her. I told her that would be obviously a dream. She told me I should come visit her for my birthday and that I should come work with her at Calvin Klein. And she would get me an interview at Calvin Klein. My parents bought me a ticket to New York for my birthday. My best friend got me an interview, and I flew out there and interviewed for a position as a design studio coordinator under the creative director, Kevin Kerrigan. I had my first interview with Kevin on a Wednesday, and I clearly remember the god-awful DKNY beige pantsuit that I wore to the interview, which Kevin said was the reason why he hired me, because I needed some serious fashion help. My second interview was on a Thursday, and I got the job on a Friday. I found my place to live in New York City on a Saturday, and I moved out to New York with 3 suitcases and slept on my best friend's couch a week later, starting my position at Calvin Klein. I was at CK for 5 years, and 3 of those which I worked as a design studio coordinator role, and 2 of which I moved over to product development for the outlet, white label products for shoes, belts, bags, small leather goods, and soft leather goods. I was then miraculously, over LinkedIn, poached by J. Crew to be a product manager for their In Good Company collaborations with brands such as Nike, New Balance, Minnetonka, Sperry, Sorel, men's and women's shoes and accessory. I obviously took the job. It was my dream job. I was really living the Devil Wears Prada life. It was pretty fabulous. Then life happened. I guess life was happening the whole time, but I met somebody. I got quickly engaged, and I followed them to LA. I left my fabulous job and moved back to Los Angeles, where I started a position sourcing and developing shoes for Skechers. My life in Los Angeles in my new marriage didn't turn out as planned, and I ended up getting divorced, moved back home for a period of time before I was able to re-get my job at J. Crew, moved back to New York, and was back in the Big Apple. After another year at J. Crew, I was poached again by Skechers, moved back to Los Angeles. Well, I guess it was Redondo Beach, and I worked as a product manager for Skechers Girls and Skechers Women's USA. Then things got dark and more life happened. I ended up getting into a violent relationship. I fled LA. The last straw was in New York. I was in New York again, surprisingly. Moved back to LA, moved all my things back to my parents' house, and I didn't want to have anything to do with fashion, shoes, New York, Los Angeles. And I just wanted to be back at home, safe with my parents. I got a call from a headhunter who had this amazing position at a small shoe company in San Rafael after I had sworn off shoes. It was a company called Vionic Shoes. The pay was amazing and I took the job. I quickly moved up in Vionic from product manager to senior director of development and costing. While back in Marin, I met my husband, Adam. He originally told me that he had worked in landscaping, but his garage definitely did not smell like that kind of fresh cut grass. I didn't ask any questions. We got pregnant with our firstborn, and Adam turned to me and said he wanted to start doing something serious. I said, like selling insurance? He said, no, I want to open a cannabis delivery service. I was so confused. I didn't even know those existed. 2 weeks after giving birth to our firstborn, Bodhi, we incorporated Nice Guys Delivery. It took us a minute to get things rolling as I just had a baby and I was still working at Vionic full time, but we launched our website in March of 2017. I left Vionic in August of 2017 and threw myself headfirst into the industry by attending one of the California Cannabis Industry Association conferences when I realized, wow, this really is a potential industry and business. I remember looking around at the conference attendees and saying, wow, like these are business people. I never had any idea that this even existed. Now here I am, almost 6 years later with 2 babies, 2 more businesses, worked through a pandemic as an essential worker. We were open throughout the whole entire pandemic. We currently have 45 employees. I still have the 2 dogs. We're living in Marin, and I'm on the board of directors of the Center for Domestic Peace, which is an organization which is so close to my heart. And I'm still in the cannabis industry. Going back to what I said at the beginning, if you'd asked me 20 years ago where I'd be, I would have never said that this was where I would be. But as challenging as it's been, I'm really, truly blessed. Thank you so much.
And thank you, Monica. That was an amazing story. I love all the ups and downs of it. The babies, the dogs, the business growth. And, you know, I think what's going on in the cannabis industry is so interesting. And it sounds like you're taking it to a new level. And that's very exciting. So thank you so much. Our next speaker is someone who lives here in Chicago that I've had the privilege of helping brand her incredible practice. Jordan Karkeville Md is a board-certified dermatologist and dermatologic, I have trouble with these words, but I'm working on them, surgeon. She completed medical school at Rush University and her residency in dermatology at Stroger Hospital of Cook County. She attended David Geffen School of Medicine at UCLA for a fellowship in dermatologia pathology. I can never say that right. And she's also completed a 1-year fellowship in Mohs surgery for skin cancer and facial reconstruction in Spokane, Washington. So she's kind of done it all. She is the founder and medical director of the Derm Institute of Chicago, and she specializes in skin cancer surgery, facial reconstruction, and cosmetic rejuvenation. Her passion for her patients drives her to keep learning new techniques, and it really keeps her bringing new techniques to her practice and I think to the world. So she is a published, peer-reviewed author. She's currently president of the Chicago Dermatological Society, and she herself actually cooked up the idea of the Art of Skin Gala, which you just saw the video of, and it will be remarkable, just like Jordan. So welcome, Dr. Jordan Karkabel.
I was cracking up over here. I love you, Cheryl. Thank you for such a beautiful introduction. And I am so honored to be here on this panel with such exceptional people. So thank you for having me. As Cheryl mentioned, I am a dermatologist, and it's I think that if I was asked what about, my career is, and the main thing is it's a marathon, it's a journey. And I think that someone told me that in the beginning of medical school is just enjoy every minute. Sometimes they're going to be really challenging, but just take it for what it is. It's a journey. And that sure has been for me, what it has been. When I knew I was going to become a doctor at a young age, I told my parents in first grade that I wanted to help people and become a physician. I probably didn't use that word, but I wanted to help people. And because of that, my parents were able to offer exposure to sciences and programs, classes. My grandfather was a nuclear physicist working at Argonne National Lab, so he got me in like the American Nuclear Society and all these things. So I really realized, looking back now at everything that allowed success, it really started for me, at least in a science career, it started at a young age. And so I'm going to circle back to that, why what I'm doing now is so important to me. But it is this marathon. And the nice thing is when you're going into medicine, sometimes you just make that choice and then it's just a series of hoops to jump through. You've got to take your MCAT, you've got to get into the medical school, then you've got to take your exams and get a residency and then a fellowship if you want, and then start working. And a lot of times we are employed physicians, and there's just not very many choices. They're bars to hit, but there's not that many. It's a nice path because there's minimal risk, I guess you could say. And so I did that. So I did that, all those jumps, and had some great training. As Cheryl mentioned, I did UCLA, dermatopathology, cosmetic in Hollywood, Mohs micrographic surgery came later. But to get to those points, there were some decisions that were difficult. And after practicing for 8 years, I realized that something was missing. I wasn't happy sitting at a microscope all day long. And you could see one behind me. I just wasn't happy sitting there for 8 hours a day after my dermatopathology fellowship. So after working for a while, I decided I really wanted to do Mohs surgery fellowship. And so that was a very challenging decision because I had been in practice. I had a child and a husband and a mortgage. And when you become a student again, as many of us know, there's no income or minimal. And so that was the first step of kind of getting off that path. And the reason I bring this story up is because part of this discussion today is women on the rise, but really women helping other women. And when I made that decision to leave something that was secure and stable, I was very scared, and I was really upset actually because I had to move across country with a 7-month-old baby, breastfeeding, all these things, and a 2-year-old also. And it was very disruptive. And I really was second guessing myself, and there were some challenges. And I was leaving work this one day, and in the parking lot, I saw the CEO of the hospital that I was working at. I'd never seen her there for 8 years that I had been there, but I thought this can't be a coincidence. This is too random in the day that we're running into each other. But I went up to her, and I didn't even know if she knew who I was, but I obviously knew who she was, and her name's Susan. And I said, Susan, I am in a tough position right now. I have just made a decision, and I'm leaving security in my job, and I have all these challenges that I need some help. And she said to me that day, she said, I will help you. Here's my email me. So I went home and I emailed her right away. She got right back to me. She said, I'm clearing my schedule Monday morning. Come to my office at 9 a.m. I came there, and with a few phone calls and some counseling, basically she helped things that I thought were impossible. And it helped me start my business, which is the Derm Institute of Chicago. And I still get goosebumps because I just think she was there at the right place, right time. And she was like my angel in a very, difficult time. So when I think of being on this panel and being selected for a woman on the rise, I was helped by a female who I greatly admire. To this day, I tell her she's invited as my special guest to the gala, which I want to tell you about next. But uplifting other women is just so important, and it has been key to my successes. And so my practice is, Cheryl branded it, and I absolutely love it. I get so many compliments. Cheryl is an absolute. Also, female supporter of others, and I have felt that too. And thank you, Cheryl. I wanted to also mention now that giving back is so key to me right now. And so they asked me to be president of the Chicago Dermatological Society last June. And I said, well, I'm only going to do this if I could make an impact and do something really fun, awesome, but so meaningful and relevant. And what I did was put together people I admired who I knew had skills that I didn't have. And one of them is Cheryl. And another one is a woman named Lisa Yukman, who is a master and basically defined the industry of sponsorship. Another woman is Jean Caslin, and she's a Stanford graduate with executive director background. And then Britt Whitfield of the Revel Group, who's one of the best party event planners in the whole city. So with this team of absolute rock stars, we have created an amazing event. And it's June 10th. And what it's doing is it's benefiting children of underserved communities of color, specifically in STEM. So educating them in the sciences. And that brings us full circle to my background in that I really think it's important to start sciences young so that we can help underserved communities become physicians, nurses, dentists, scientists, engineers, and help reduce healthcare disparities. So this is an amazing event. We've raised already $1 million. We have national news coverage and local news coverage. We have the American Academy of Dermatology interested in what we're doing and sending videographer, and it's going to be absolutely wonderful. And I really think that so much of this is women helping one another and putting our best efforts forward. And we are hoping to change the community in a very positive way in healthcare. So thank you so much for allowing me to be here on the panel and sharing my story.
Well, thank you so much, Jordan. I mean, obviously, she said all these nice things, and she's an amazing person. I think you got that from that. I love how she grew up, and I love the marathon approach that she talked about that she's been through. And I am just impressed with all the hoops you have jumped through, and really to help so many people. It's incredible. So our next speaker is Maureen Sedonan. She is the CEO of Habitat Greater San Francisco, serving Marin, San Mateo, and San Francisco counties. Over the past 5+ years, she's overseen incredible pipeline growth and increased mission impact across the organization as we build, preserve, finance, and advocate for affordable home ownership. Habitat Greater San Francisco was named an affiliate of distinction in both 2017 and 2018. An inspiring and strategic leader with a highly successful track record leading in both the nonprofit and private sector, Maureen has served in executive leadership roles for several years at leading organizations and formerly was the founder, president, and CEO of the Youth Leadership Institute. She has an MBA in strategic leadership from Dominican University, a certificate in nonprofit management from Harvard. She's received numerous honors, and she has served as a mentor, advisor, and strategist to numerous startups, philanthropic foundations, municipalities, school districts, and business groups across the U.S. and abroad. So let's welcome Maureen Sedonan.
And hope my camera works. Thank you so much. And I think all that just means I'm old and I've had a really blessed and fortunate life. So thank you for that kind introduction. So I'm Maureen Sedonan, and I'm going to say a little bit about myself first. One of the things I wanted to share with you is that I was one of 12 kids, and my father passed away when I was very young, and my mom had 11 of us at home. And what this did is it did a lot of things. It was pretty crazy pants. But it gave me the opportunity to see the strength and stability of having my mom be a homeowner as I grew up during my developmental years. And so that's something that always stuck with me, and I'll get back to that in a bit. But as a young mom, when I was in Marin, I started the Youth Leadership Institute, an organization that I'm still tremendously proud of and glad to be affiliated with. And we worked all over Marin, the Central Valley, San Francisco, and across the United States, working and partnering with young people to shift policies on issues and leveling the playing field in their communities, and particularly for young people of color. I was there for over 25 years, saw this magic happen with young people, and I'm super, super blessed to have had those incredible teachers, every one of them that I was able to work with. And they've passed over 300 policies around education, health, juvenile justice, or like what I like to say is juvenile injustice, food security, among many other things. And after I left there, I went into work in social impact business. I worked at a great company called Revolution Foods, helping put healthy food in schools. And then after that, worked as a consultant and staff at several foundations and nonprofits, and just really have been so blessed to learn from so many, many people. Then an amazing recruiter called me about the job at Habitat, and I was really intrigued because I realized one of the things that is important to be a leader and to have impact is to be a learner and to continue to be a lifelong learner. And so this role, I've learned so much about affordable housing, about construction, about mortgage financing, and most importantly, that direct connection and impact on families and young people. Habitat transforms the lives not only of the parents who become first-time homebuyers, but on their kids. So where 21% of our Habitat homeowners have gone to post-high school education, 70% of their kids in the last 30 years have done so. So super inspiring. So today, I'm going to talk about what we do, how many women have been such an integral, important part of our journey, and how I see women leaders really inherently so significant in our world, because we not only know how to get stuff done, but we know how to do it while we care deeply and we think about the outcomes. So we often hear the phrase housing crisis used a lot across our country, and especially here in the San Francisco Bay Area. So I wanted to help just break that down a little bit. In California and across the United States, we have a housing production crisis. We don't have enough homes that we're building to help solve the problem. And we also have an affordability crisis. So houses cost too much. So production-wise in California, we're short about 3.5 million homes. And in the United States, it's more like 5 million. So we are currently only building right now in California about 100,000 homes a year. So you can see this incredible delta at the problem. We've accumulated a 35-year backlog in housing, and particularly in affordable housing. And we've done that also with strict policies like redlining and other things who have kept particular people out of communities. And so Habitat also does a lot of work to try to change that tide. In terms of affordability in our sort of current region, in the Bay Area counties, $1.3 million is the average price of a home. And in Marin County, it just topped 1.7 million. Nationwide, only 58% of the counties in the nation have homes that are called affordable, or less than $150,000. And in Chicago, it's almost $300,000 for a starter home. So these things are just make so much of a barrier for families to try to attain affordable home ownership. So every week we hear the heartbreaking stories of families that are struggling to make their ends meet. So the lack of that decent, affordable, and permanent home. And oftentimes people are commuting hours to get to their jobs as a teacher, a preschool teacher, a firefighter, someone who's working in a food production business or a delivery business, or, and they really want to live where they work. And so it's just become increasingly hard for people to be able to do that. So at Habitat Greater San Francisco, we're trying to scale. And so we're challenging ourselves to be the leader in this solution in our region. So in early June, we have families moving into newly built homes in Daly City, and then later in the summer in Redwood City, which we're super proud of. But I do want to tell you something that was super hard. The demand for these homes was crazy. Those 26 homes had over 1,000 applicants to apply to become affordable homeowners. So it's just the supply, demand, the production just really, really affect us. So when I came to Habitat a little over almost 6 years ago, I really got together with my team and we said, we have to accelerate. We have to work with our board and build with our partners and get with our funders and really have to increase our ability with our value proposition to do what we uniquely do. And the things that we uniquely do are we actually build homes. And so we're a home builder, we're a construction company. We also finance homes. So we provide 0 down, 0% interest mortgages for our families. And we cap their monthly expenses at 30% of their income. This makes these families, these hardworking families, have the ability to save for their child's future, for them to be able to plan and make sure that they are building equity. And so this kind of shared equity that they're getting with us by doing 500 hours of sweat equity as they build their community also pays dividends because Habitat homeowners volunteer more. They're very engaged in their community and they're incredible neighbors. And so that's also really important. So we also knew that we couldn't just build, as people often think of Habitat, sort of barn raising, these build one, build two homes. We knew we had to move into the world of multifamily housing. And so my predecessor and the folks that went before me did a great job of building this path and started to build multifamily homes in our region. And we've built on that over the last several years. So what gets in our way? Well, sometimes this tension between two groups, one called NIMBYs, the not in my backyards, or sometimes I call them I've got mine, forget you, and the YIMBYs, who are the yes in my backyard, who want to advocate for all housing and more housing types. And the truth is we need more affordable housing, but we also need more more homes. And so we need both. And so that's why our realtors and our other builders are such important partners to us at Habitat and across our region. So there's not always, sort of this very clear line, and people aren't bad or good. It really is about helping people understand and also having them experience that nuanced but respectful way that, at least for Habitat, that we build, which is we build beautiful homes that are architecturally designed that match the community that they're in. And we've had tons of success over the last 30 years doing this. And so we're really proud of it. And we also build sometimes transit-oriented housing that's near buses and trains. And like we built a 36-unit development in Daly City right across the street from the BART station. But in Novato, we built something that was a multifamily development with 10 homes that very much looked like country estates down the street in downtown Novato. So we really have that ability to kind of flex and nuance what we're doing in order to do that. We right now are doing one of my favorite projects, which actually was inspired by our donor's mother, who was an artist and a scientist in San Francisco. And he donated her home, and he was 101 years old a couple weeks ago, and he sadly just passed away. But he donated her home. It was not in great shape. And we took the home down, and we're putting 8 homes on that property in Diamond Heights. So very beautiful neighborhood with lovely neighbors and really a great attitude of people coming out to support this Habitat project happening. There's factors that contribute to housing production, zoning rules, environmental regulations, and obviously high costs. We all know in every business right now, supply chain challenges and lots of expenses. So we have to be very nimble. We have to be very, in our case, schmoozy, can help people to be part of their triple or double bottom line, where we can help them do a great thing by supporting Habitat. And then we also work in Sacramento and our local cities to change policies. So I just want to tell you recently about my personal favorite female hero, Mackenzie Scott. You've probably heard about her incredible transformative philanthropy, but she really, truly is flipping the script on philanthropy and impact investing in the ways that many others have not done yet, but we really hope will follow. We were so blessed and fortunate that she recently gave us a transformative gift. We were one of 84 affiliates across the country. The Chicago affiliate got one too, so right on. Out of 1,000 Habitat affiliates. To accelerate our impact and to make sure we're moving the needle for people of color in particular to become homeowners, the true way to build equity in America. So we hope this gift will encourage other philanthropists to join us on our impact journey. We're working to double our impact. We have $50 million that we're raising in the next 5 years to build the hundreds of homes that we have and to serve and support and keep longtime homeowners, low-income homeowners in their homes, and to continue to advocate for successful land use and housing policy. So this gift was transformative. It was mind-blowing, and it definitely was one of those times when I got the call, I was like, is this one of my friends punking me or somebody really mean to me today? But it was so amazing. And Mackenzie Scott, you are just my hero in so many ways. But they didn't have an application. They didn't, they did their own diligence. They did their own work. And she made one of the largest impact gifts across, a social sector in the 35 years that I've been at this that I have ever seen. This kind of trust-based philanthropy. We're going to invest in you, and we know you're going to do good things. And we certainly are. And she can trust me to hold me accountable. Homeownership, because it occupies a unique and ever evident way that in this housing continuum, 98% of all housing resources go to rental, which is great and we need it, but we want people to matriculate out of home rental into home ownership so they can build that wealth, so they can have that generational impact and they can have that financial security and stability. So we're happy at our Habitat. We know that, you know, people want their kids to go to college, their health is better, they have financial security, they can save for the future. And, you know, because of Mackenzie Scott and others' generosity, we have so many supporters. We're so fortunate, individuals, corporations, and foundations. We're able to make this dream a reality for folks. And together we can move this needle to create an equitable, just, and thriving community, which for me is why I get up out of bed every day. And I'm so blessed to do this work. And thank you so much for having me make it better. I so appreciate all of you. And to the other women on the panel, I'm so inspired by you. So thank you and bless you.
Wow. Thank you so much, Maureen. That was just an amazing story, and the achievements, I think, are also incredible. And the whole cause is that, you know, helps so many people and so many families and so many communities. And obviously the story of how Mackenzie Scott and what's going on there is also amazing. So thank you so much for all that. We're hoping our next speaker is going to be able to make it. Kathy Rozier. Yeah, she is a managing director of wealth management, and she's the founder of the Rozier Barbanet Group at Morgan Stanley. For over 30 years, she's been helping successful executives and multi-generational families build and protect their wealth. She's known for creating a customized plan designed to achieve every client's financial goals. This is from younger clients focused on wealth accumulation, mid-level clients whose goals are asset preservation and retirement planning, to, you know, older people who are thinking about estate and legacy. And so she believes that an educated investor is a better investor. She's also a frequent contributor to financial news like Forbes and Barron's. She speaks at investment management conventions. She hosts financial planning. She has gotten all kinds of awards. She has been named Barron's Financial Advisor into the Hall of Fame. She recognizes advisors who have appeared in 10 or more of Barron's annual top 100 rankings. So, you know, she has really been, she's an active member. She graduated from the Eli Broad College of Business at Michigan State, and she is an active member of charities, including the YMCA of Metro Chicago and Make It Better Foundation. So hopefully we're going to welcome Kathy Rozier.
Yes, so women are really a financial force to be reckoned with. It's estimated that by the year of 2030, $30 trillion is the amount that the baby boomer women will control in financial assets. And 48% of all the United States stocks are controlled by women. And 90% of the household financial decisions are made by women. And yet, unfortunately, many women don't feel equipped or have the knowledge to make confident financial decisions. They either avoid it or defer it. And it's really not a choice, because either because of death, divorce, inheritance, or other circumstances, it's really highly likely that women will be in charge of their financial future at some point in their lives. And educating women has never been more important to me, really, given the unique challenges that they face. And what I have found is it really pays to plan. And a very thoughtful money management strategy will give you the financial freedom to pursue your dreams, support you and your loved ones, weather unexpected storms, take advantage of a longer time horizon when it comes to investments, and allows you to really give back to causes that you care about. And so I've really built my career about helping people plan. It just doesn't happen, but that plan will help people feel protected and in control. It's like a roadmap that gets you where you want to go and helps you if you have unexpected things come along. Just like in the same vein of going on a road trip, you really think about where you want to go, what you want to see. You put a checklist together to get prepared, whether it's booking hotels, airfare, stopping the mail, getting someone to take care of your dog. It's also just as important that you think about them when it comes to finances. And organized, successful people have a checklist for all aspects of their life. So if you can pull up my checklist, I thought I'll share with you what I do with a lot of clients, and it really helps my clients feel empowered. When they get this list put together, it helps them keep them on track. We build it based on their goals and objectives. We monitor it, and we put this dashboard together. So this is just 5 things that I thought about. I have some people that might have 10 or 15 or 20 things on their dashboard. It just makes sure when you have this checklist that you don't run out of gas, that somebody is warning you about the potential problems that are on the horizon, how to get in front of it and fix it. You need a plan, it just doesn't happen. So you start by really thinking about what's important, the important aspects of your financial well-being. And so the major areas to point out that I think are relevant for a lot of people today is financial planning. You think about your long-term goals and then use software or a planner to help you do an analysis of the probability of reaching your goals. You set a budget, you save regularly, and you also put a plan to think about any other family members that you need to help with financially. Typically, that financial planning, one of the number one goals people have is to have a plan for retirement and dream about what that retirement will look like and write it down. Think about setting aside your surplus income towards that retirement goal using your 401k plan or an IRA plan. And then think about what you would want to spend in retirement. Do you need extra money for travel for a certain amount of years? Do you want to have a second home in another state? What does that all look like? When do you take Social Security? Do you take it at earlier at 62? Do you take it at full retirement, or do you defer it to age 70? And then taking Medicare at age 65, what type of plan do you take in retirement? And you set those core spending needs at that time. And then you work through legacy and education goals. Are there people that you want to help with education? What do you want to do in the area of philanthropy? Do you want to, do you feel that it's necessary to help take care of your grandchildren? Do you want to set a certain amount of your money aside to pass on to future generations, or pass it on to charities that you care about? Do you use a donor advised fund? Or do you use a foundation? Those are all things that you put this checklist together. It's important, for example, that you review your insurance, and that could run the gamut of anything from your life insurance to your Medicare to your homeowner's insurance, reviewing your health, your disability, your umbrella policies. Are your beneficiaries up to date? I just had I was at a restaurant and somebody was buying everybody drinks because the person was celebrating that her spouse had died many years ago, never updated the beneficiaries. And when he passed away, she got all the money, which I thought was interesting. Probably not what he had planned. And then, do you have a long-term care policy in place to take care of yourself if you need that? And then one of the final things I've been really on top of talking to people about is cybersecurity. What plan do you have in place if you experience identity theft? Identity theft, and it's a reality. It's happening more and more today that people have their identity stolen. Do you have a list of who are key contacts in the event that you're disabled or something happens? That really came up as an issue with a client that had COVID and was in the hospital for many months. What do you think about when it has to do with what you save in your safes and where your documents are? And having a list of your computer files and passwords. I had a client that her husband had passed away unexpectedly, and we had no ability to get into computer files and passwords. It was really kind of a mess. So thinking through all those things, and what I find is just having this checklist really helps drive people through thinking about the important aspects of their financial well-being and helping them achieve it. So thank you, Cheryl, and thank you, everyone, and letting me participate. I hope you found this helpful.
Amazing. Yeah. I will say that thank you so much, Kathy. It's just amazing. I think everything that you're talking about. I think so many of us don't think about those things. We don't want to think about them sometimes, and I just think it is very smart to bring them up and to start considering them, and just your advice and the details and the checklist. I think means so much to people, and you know, I think a lot of people are very, very grateful for what you do. So thank you much. We're going to go to some questions now, and hopefully we can hear from our speakers on these questions. One of the questions, and we actually, Susan and I have been talking about this. We'd kind of like to hear from all of you. Pretty much kind of the same question, but what are the challenges of being a woman in your business? For example, Monica, you know, cannabis industry specifically, but what were the challenges? What are, or maybe some of the things you ran into, or some of the things that didn't go as smoothly because of that? And so I think we'd like to start with talking about those challenges, and maybe Monica, you could begin.
Yeah, sure. Wow, it's been challenging to say the least. I've found that this industry is predominantly male. And I'm also having to deal, and I never thought this was another thing I never thought I would get into, is the political aspect of it. When I first started this business, I was speaking in front of a lot of local governments. I've been across the state speaking at various county and city localities where the majority of the local governments were male, with very strong opinions about the industry and what it is. Yeah, it's been difficult. It's been challenging. I do believe, though, don't quote me on this, but I do believe that cannabis is the fastest growing industry with females in executive positions. So that's really great to know. There's a lot of amazing, powerful women that I've met in this space, and we do really hold ourselves up. So that has been great. It has been very difficult and challenging, I would say, being a mother in this industry, because with just the stresses of we were broken into twice now. Our retail spot, we've had to deal with challenges that you wouldn't have to deal with in a normal business, from when I was working in the fashion industry. So being a mother and having to worry about my family and my safety, and even my employees' really safety, has been something that I've found more challenging than anything in this industry. And I don't think that only just is female oriented. I think it just across the board with everybody in this industry. So, and there is a very sense of being in it together, despite, you know, who you are. So yeah, yes and no. I mean, it's changing a lot, but
Yeah.
I think
Thank
there's
you.
more.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Jordan, can we hear from you on your challenges? Oh, she's not.
So the challenges, for me, the biggest challenges are, you know, the work-life balance, because I think when I'm managing a practice, managing patients, it's really a 24-hour-a-day job, just like many of your jobs too. And then just balancing with being a mom, and as I mentioned to you know before, making those choices of doing extra education while having a 7-month-old baby while nursing. I mean, it's just really a challenge. For just work-life balance, and it's something that I'm constantly working on. I have found it challenging to be in this new leadership role that's you know, with the president of the Chicago Derm Society. It's a 120-year-old organization, and we've had a lot of change with budgets. We've had a lot of change with, you know, how we interpret missions and the importance of diversity, and there's just a lot of stuff there, and that's been a challenge. Just, you know, just for anyone making change, that's something that I've seen. I think it's hard if you're a man or a woman there, but That's my experience.
Wow, that's interesting. Thank you so much. Maureen, what can we hear from you?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think one of the biggest challenges we face is that people don't realize that affordable home ownership is such a small part of the ecosystem. And so helping people understand why it's so important. And I think for people to get as many advocates as we can, I hope we get a lot of them today, to really stand up in their community for affordable housing. It's not a scary thing. These are folks who work with us and live with us and are a part of our community. And I think that's really important. And I think the other challenge I would say is just the demand is so high, and we really have to keep our foot on the gas, even though everything's really expensive, and keep going. So that momentum, that policy change, and that collaboration is key to Habitat's success.
No, that's interesting. Thank you. And Kathy, maybe you can talk a little bit about the challenges of your business, maybe being a woman, or how that all works in your industry.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. So my industry is very male dominated. When I started over 30 years ago, about 12% of the financial advisors were women. Now I think we're up to 18%. So we have a long way to go still. But what I thought was a challenge at the time, where a lot of people didn't want to maybe work with a woman, I've found that the opportunities have completely changed now. With those numbers I told you about how many women are controlling assets, I have a lot of women who want to work with other women. And one of the interesting statistics is that 70% of investors end up firing their financial advisor when their spouse passes away. And most of the time, you'll find that it's the woman that has somewhat maybe been ignored in the process that fires their advisor. And I found that as a great opportunity. So it's today, there are many teams out there that are diverse across all different ways, and that is turned into a benefit. So it's just one example.
Interesting. All right. Well, I'm going to have one more question that I want to ask all of you. And what goals right now are you trying to achieve? Like where would you like to be, at the end of this year or the end of next year? Or, what is it that you strive for in your life every day? And maybe that's not business, but I would just like to hear from all of you about that. So Monica?
Wow, that's quite the question. I would say work life. I'm really trying to focus on myself right now. I've found that, it's just been the last 2.5 years, or I guess 2 years total with the pandemic, and just working through that has really taken a strain on everybody, really. And running this business and having small children at home, with no childcare and running a ship or a couple ships at the same time has been challenging. So I've really, as cheesy as it sounds, I've really tried to ground myself a bit and to make sure that I am taking care of myself, because otherwise I'm not going to be able to take care of my loved ones and this business. And I think a lot of people ignore that. And it's been hard for me to come to that conclusion. I remember my mother always telling me, you need to stop doing everything yourself and you need to ask other people for help more. And that really, I think that finally kicked in. And so, I had a little bit of just being completely transparent, a little bit of a burnout situation where I'm like, I can't do this anymore. So I'm really trying to focus on myself just to ground and make sure that I can keep these ships going.
Yeah, that's great. I think it's something that we can all share. Jordan, what about you? You're just trying to get through to the Artist Skin Gala, right?
No, you know what? I actually feel that that's all buttoned up, and I just am looking forward to celebrating right now. I think the thing that I'm looking for next year, as far as my practice goes, I want to just stay up with new technologies. Next year, I hope to get some cool new lasers, and I want to spend time researching that. I'd like to get involved in a little bit more research and less practice administration. So start to do a little bit more teaching and academic work. So that's one of my goals for next year. And I also, as far as the gala, the proceeds are, I didn't mention this actually during my talk, but one of the huge layers to this is that we're starting a mentorship program. And the mentorship program, I'm hoping that we have at least $100,000 going towards that. And I hope to see that continuing into next year, and that continue to be fostered by my colleagues after all the work that we did. So those are my goals.
That's great. That's good to hear. Thank you. And Kathy, oh, I skipped Maureen. Maureen, let's get.
I don't know if you can hear me. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. I can.
Okay, I can't see. My screen's gone blank. But I think that the challenge I would say is, in addition to the work-life balance, trying to stay sort of mindful in my leadership and centered, and also be able to lift up and support my incredible team. And I think to remember that our families, are really doing their best and working so hard in this incredibly challenging time, and making sure I hold them in my heart every day with that intentionality of gratitude, but also of intention to make sure we're moving our needle where we need to be, and inviting everyone in to join us. We need everybody to be part of our lifting all boats.
So you're saying that's kind of what you would do as you go forward in the future?
Yes, every day, just putting myself in that space and starting my day with that gratitude, but also that intentionality.
Oh, that's great. I love that. Kathy.
So my goal in what I've been working on, my 5-year plan, is around helping people think about their money and investing around their values and what impact they can have. I think a lot more people could be more charitable and more thoughtful about what they're doing with their money, driving and towards capital towards areas that really need attention. And but it all comes down to education. I think people need to be educated about those opportunities. And so that's one of my goals with my clients, is to talk about ESG investing and more impact investing.
That's good. Thank you. I appreciate it. Well, thank all of you. It's amazing. I will tell you that, do what you love and love what you do. And, don't be afraid to fail and go forward. And we are living in crazy times, but I think all of these women have had experiences and achievements that I think are very inspirational. So thank you all. And thank you all for being here today. And we really appreciate it.